Welcome to the Darkstream, Vox Day, voxday.net, and unauthorized TV. Busy night on unauthorized, or afternoon for most of you, I suppose. I saw that Stefan and Owen are both streaming now, so how cool is that we can be doing all this multi-streaming with no problems at all. Nibmeister says, all hail the rock star. Indeed. Actually, to be honest, I'm feeling a bit of a sense of accomplishment. I just got an email from Suno, and they wanted to let us know that they heard us, and they brought back the ability to extend with 3.5 rather than always having to do 4, which is frankly desirable, because if you want to do structural work in 3.5 and then like remaster it in 4.0, it just functionally you get different results than if you do it directly in 4. So it's all good. Tonight I think you're in for a bit of a pleasure later. I actually got some, I sent, a lot of you have probably checked out the Cosmic Trigger Midnight Sun mix. I can show you what I'm talking about here, I think. Oh, okay, just Owen's going now. But if we go with the catalog and go down to Voxiphonic, so that right there, the first one, that's the Cosmic Trigger Midnight Sun mix. And I sent that out along with the one that I'm going to play you in a bit here. And it was kind of interesting. I got I got some emails back from, and this is my old bandmate from the Psychosonic days. He's the guy that I co-wrote the original song with. I did most of the lyrics. He did most of the, he did pretty much all the music, of course. I thought for sure I had that somewhere. I never find things when I look for them. But, oh, here it is. He said, honestly, I like both versions and for different reasons, but both super catchy and sounding great. Truly can't believe what is possible now. Well done, release them. So, with his permission, I'll probably be releasing them on Spotify and all that kind of stuff. Probably almost certainly under the Vibe Patrol name. Although I'm going to run it by him. Just there's a very slight chance, very, very small, that he might want me to do it under the Psychosonic name. I don't think so, because that is potentially opening up a number of cans of worms. But anyhow, as always, it's kind of funny. We're one of the few music groups that has absolutely no bad blood between any of us, despite the fact that we've all gone in different directions. We ended up, breaking up quite early in our career and all that sort of thing. But, it's never anything personal. And it was just always people going in different directions. So anyhow, it's nice to be able to, still at least communicate and share things back and forth. I'd personally love to get the whole thing back together, but that's not looking too likely just because of, various people's commitments and so forth. If you're not aware, one of the other guys, Dan, is very involved in Hollywood. He does a lot of TV and movie soundtrack stuff. And in fact, there was actually a television series, and the name of the theme song was taken directly from lyrics that I wrote, which I thought was kind of funny. And then our drummer, who was actually my housemate for some time, he's the audio director for Epic Mega Games. So that he's almost certainly the most successful out of all of us, which is absolutely hilarious if you knew us all back in the day. But anyhow, it's so later I'll fire that up. I've also got something else I think you might find interesting to show you. Yes, we are going to make a move onto TikTok and Instagram. And the reason we're doing that, if you happen to be watching Archaven Nights 2 weeks ago, is because book talk has become incredibly important for book sales. And if that's where the potential readers are, if that's where some of the book collectors are, then that's where we have to be too. And so fortunately, we had a volunteer who is willing to take on the book talking responsibilities. And one of our very capable Castellians has, against his initial inclinations, but I suspect that he actually kind of likes what he's doing now with it. He's one of the younger guys, so he actually knows how to use a phone properly, like a smartphone, in ways that I just don't. And so, I don't like to do anything productive on my phone. Like, phones are for talking to people and getting texts and reading books. That's it. I don't watch videos on them. I don't play games on them, etc., etc. God did not create big screens and wireless mice so that we could try to do things on a tiny little phone screen, right? So anyhow, the idea of just doing something productive on a smartphone is totally and utterly foreign to me. And so I don't even surf the web on it. I just don't. And so anyhow, I drafted him. He was willing to figure it out, and actually figured out everything quite competently within a matter of, as far as I could tell, minutes. So I'll show you our first little test thing, and I think you'll agree it's pretty good. But so what I'd appreciate is if you happen to be active on any of those platforms, just give it a follow, spread it around, etc., etc. Because I honestly believe after one of the first things that we did, of course, is just do a basic analysis of what book talk is and stuff. And honestly, I think it's something that we can really make a pretty good dent in based on what people like to see. It's kind of like Twitter. It's popular for the same reason that Twitter beat out Facebook and stuff, and beat out blogs and so forth, because most people don't have that much to say. I don't have that much to say compared to an Owen. There's very, very few people who can just go on and on and on their own. Of course, that's why interview shows are popular, because it allows people to, have something to feed off of and so forth. It's much easier to do 2 hours on Archaven Nights than it is to do an hour here by myself. So, we're not discovering anything new. The people doing TV, the people doing radio, they all figure this out in their time. And so, but the shorter it is, the easier it is, and plus with modern attention spans being much, much shorter, the limitation of 15 to 3 minutes maximum just makes it much, much more viable than YouTube, Twitch, all those other sorts of things. It's interesting to see how the most popular people will do just do a dump of 3 things once a week. I mean, they probably film them all at the same time, take 10 minutes to do it, and boom, you're done for the week. So pretty efficient. It's going to be very interesting. And of course, it should be advantageous, because when it comes to books, nobody does better books than we do. And certainly nobody who does elite deluxe books does books anywhere as affordably as we do. So it's going to be an important element in our next stage of growth, and hopefully you'll come along for the ride. And I can pretty much guarantee you that you'll enjoy the little videos that we're going to create. So News this week, the big thing, of course, is I thought very good news. Russia demonstrating its ballistic missile capabilities without attaching nukes to them. Now, of course, if you're at all familiar with Big Bear's line of reasoning, and I have to admit, there is, first of all, there's a certain amount of logic to it, and secondly, Big Bear does have an unreasonably high batting average. So what we can conclude is ballistic missiles are real. Nukes, maybe not so much. But even if they are real, the good news is Putin doesn't want to use them. And more importantly, Putin clearly doesn't have any reason to need them. What they delivered to Ukraine could just have easily been delivered to London, to Berlin, or even to somewhere in the United States. When you saw the videos of those entry vehicles coming right through the crowds and then splitting into six right before hitting, and then there being no explosion at all, it was very, very clear that was a very convincing demonstration of what Russia's capabilities are. And I mean, can you imagine a carrier? There's no amount of Aegis defense systems that's going to stop that. And so, given that nukes were always the only deterrent to keep the Soviet Union out of Western Europe, it's now clear that there is no deterrent. And so it's probably going to take a few more demonstrations before the Europeans will surrender, and before, or I should say, before the clown worlders in the USA will permit the European puppets to surrender. The fact that you had utter morons like Keir Starmer and this Lucas guy that I dubbed London Larry. The clown world spokesman and the political leaders now sound like Baghdad Bob. Everybody can see what's happening, and they're just operating as if it's not they're operating as if reality doesn't exist, that everything that's happening isn't happening, and they're just operating in this delusional state where things are still as they imagined them to be 3 years ago. But they're not. The Russian economy has now surpassed both the Japanese and the German economies. Russia is not diplomatically isolated, and in fact has troops from North Korea actively helping defend Russia in the Kursk area. And so everything that we were told in the lead up to the 2022 special military operation was totally false. Russia didn't run out of ammunition. Putin didn't die of cancer. It's been really remarkable to see how every single thing that we were told by the official narrative has proven to be false. And what's probably going to be proven to be false next is the whole idea of, we will never surrender, we will never give up on NATO, etc., etc. If I'm in Finland, if I'm in Sweden, I would be running for office on the ticket of leave NATO now. Make nice with Russia now. Because that's the only danger to them. The only danger to the countries bordering Russia is making an enemy of Russia by joining an aggressive NATO alliance, and it is an aggressive NATO alliance. NATO bombed a European capital for like 2 months back in the 90s. That is not defending anything. That is not a defensive alliance. NATO had troops active in Iraq. How were they defending Western Europe in Iraq? You know, people don't remember it, but the Italians are not inclined to be as blasé about the loss of their soldiers as most countries. And after 9 Italians were killed in a bombing in Iraq, they were really, really upset. I mean, the Italian media was just like, what the hell are we doing over there? Forget NATO, forget this stuff, bring the boys home. It was actually a bit worrisome at the time for us, just because my cousin was living over here, and she was engaged to an Italian army captain who was stationed over there. And, not like they were on the front lines particularly, but, they did lose a few people. And for what? Absolutely nothing. So anyhow, and remember, the promise not to expand NATO was given in order to achieve something. The Soviets at the time, no, I'm sorry, it would have been the Russians, but the Russians agreed to withdraw from East Germany. They had over 100,000 troops in East Germany, and they removed them all with the promise that NATO would not be expanded, not one inch eastward. And now it's on their borders. And we were supposed to believe and act as if that was some sort of diplomatic triumph for the U.S. It wasn't. It was a disaster. We may not have realized at the time, most Americans are pretty indifferent to it. It's just another one of the alphabet treaties that are essentially meaningless, that the one worlders keep trying to sign the USA up for. But the problem is that it actually has had a lot of very negative consequences, not just for the US, but also for their European countries and the Europeans who believe they're being protected by it, but they're not. I mean, history is littered with examples of countries that signed up for alliances that they believed would protect them that didn't do anything of the kind, and to the contrary, often jeopardized their existence. What happened to Czechoslovakia? That was the proximate cause of World War II. Poland and France guaranteeing Czechoslovakia's security, and they didn't end up in a good situation after the end of the war. Neither did Poland. And so, there's a reason why George Washington warned against the United States joining getting involved in foreign entanglements. Staying out of things, staying neutral, is the best possible thing you can do in the vast majority of circumstances. And if you do feel the need to join forces in an emergency, you can always do it later. Having your militaries coordinated is nonsense. It doesn't work that way anyhow. And of course, as we're moving into this new phase of drone warfare and stuff, it's even less relevant. Anyhow, I'll get off my soapbox, but I am encouraged by the fact that Russia has demonstrated the willingness to use its technological superiority and demonstrate it in a way that is intrinsically non-escalatory, and should, probably with the need of a few more demonstrations, convince the clown world and convince the Europeans that this is not a war that they are capable of fighting. This is not a war that they should want to fight. And the Japanese didn't surrender until both Hiroshima and Nagasaki were attacked. Now, there's very good reason to believe that those atomic bombings were faked, but the Japanese wouldn't necessarily have known that. Um, you know, I always kind of went back and forth. I mean, I'd heard about the Japanese computer simulations that uh, essentially proved that the nuclear fission bombs could not function the way that they're supposed to. Um, but you know, I don't know. I don't know how accurate the simulations are. So you know, I'm not capable of ascertaining whether that's an actual proof or not. But for me, whenever I look at something and try to determine is the official story true, or because I'm now so skeptical of official stories, what is the first sign that the official story isn't true? Where are the anomalies? And of course, the big one in the case of Hiroshima is there was a large American bomber group that was sent on a incendiary bombing mission very close to Hiroshima. And the damage that was done to Hiroshima was much more indicative of an incendiary attack than a pinpoint atomic uh, bomb going off. And this was long before all of the stuff about Oppenheimer. I mean, once you read Miles Mathis's paper on Oppenheimer, you just immediately go, okay, this whole thing is fake. You know, I mean, seriously, we're going to do top secret uh, military development on a guy's private ranch? Really? You know? Um, as is always the case, the more you learn, the more you know, the more it's completely and utterly obvious that the official story is pure fiction. Cactus says, and only one journalist was allowed to report there. Yeah, that's definitely par for the course. You know, um, I mean, anytime you've got the military controlling the narrative, you can be certain that the narrative is false. You can be absolutely certain that the narrative is false. You know, I mean, I'm at the point now where, forget the moon landings and the atomic bombings. I'm at the point where I doubt that the space shuttle Challenger actually blew up. And yes, I've seen the pictures of all of the of all the siblings of the dead astronauts who happen to look exactly like the astronauts who supposedly died in that tragedy of the 80s. Um, you know, it never occurred to me at the time either, but it was just weird that they brought the televisions in so that we could watch it at school. I mean, it wasn't like the space shuttle hadn't gone up before. It wasn't the first space shuttle that had ever gone up. It wasn't like school always stopped so you could watch different. I mean, this wasn't like Apollo 1 or Apollo 4 or whatever it was. We were all mystified at the time, like, why are we doing this? What's the big deal? Okay, they're putting the space shuttle is launching again, so what? you know um, in retrospect, at looking back with a lot more life experience under my belt, it's pretty easy to see that we were supposed to see that. It was part of our youthful programming at the time. So we were watching Space Bunny and I were watching a special on the Kennedy assassination, and it's almost funny how wildly obvious it is that Lee Harvey Oswald had nothing to do with shooting Kennedy. And it was also funny too, the way that it's Jack Ruby this, Jack Ruby that, Jack Ruby this. And then the minute that it goes to historical conversations, you hear J. Edgar Hoover talking about Rubenstein. You're like, oh, okay. Just Ludwig says, funny how people who die in public tragedy tend to have twins. Yeah, it does tend to make you raise an eyebrow or two. But you know, they even have, and they talk about the time frame of Oswald leaving the book depository, taking the bus home, changing his clothes, talking to his landlady, taking the bus back into town, and then going to the movie theater where he was arrested. And in this time, he's supposed to have shot both JFK and the Dallas police officer. And so, you know, it's entirely obvious that the whole thing is just nonsense. I don't know what really happened. Guitarded Bear says, like how the Trump shooting was done on live TV. When have they ever shown a Trump rally live on TV? Exactly. Absolutely and exactly. And what, the other thing that was kind of funny was they said there's this assassinations report in the late 70s, assassinations commission. I think it was the House commission on it or something like that. And in the conclusion, they have this congressman who's sitting there reading. He says, well, we find it very unlikely that it was Lee Harvey Oswald. We find it very unlikely that the mafia was involved, that the Soviet Union was involved. And there's this long list of countries and groups that they don't believe were involved. And, you know, a couple that were sort of conspicuous by omission. So I don't know if we'll ever know the truth. You know, Trump said he was going to declassify it before 2016, and then he didn't, which was, you know, one of his many failures the first time around. But we can hope that with his second coming, he will do it right. You know, we should see complete declassifications of everything related to the JFK attack. There's a lot of things that we should see, and you know, this whole idea of, well, we need to prevent the public from panicking. I mean, I'm sorry, that doesn't cut it anymore. If we all want to panic because it turned out that the Peruvians had JFK assassinated, then that should be our right. You know, you can't hide the truth from the people in what purports to be a democracy. I know we're supposed to be a republic, but we're not a republic either, right? So anyhow, that's just a kind of random aside. We just happen to be watching that. So so let me show you what we're doing on the. You would think Bobby Jr. would want answers. I suspect Bobby Jr. knows. I strongly suspect Bobby Jr. knows, but we'll see. So this is this is an example of our test to make sure that we could do it properly to do TikTok stuff. So I'll put my headphones on because, of course, you have to do music, and you'll notice at the end there's even a neat little sticker, they call them. It's just a graphic. So okay, hang on. Why do we have no sound? Let me just check this. Okay, sound should be on. Okay, give it a whirl again. There's the little logo. Okay, oh, there we go. Apparently we have to work on the timing of this somehow. It doesn't seem to like the... Let me see if I can get it to start over and do properly. It seems like it loaded the audio separately than the video. Let me see if it's... Oh, I see. So anyhow, that's a demonstration of our ability to do that. And let's go ahead and fire. So this is the version that I played for you. I'm not going to play it, but this is what we had a few streams ago. So this was Cosmic Trigger, the Midnight Sun mix, and that was done with the 3.5 version. So slightly different quality, some slightly different idiosyncrasies and so forth. This is the Fly Your Freak Flag mix, and I have to admit I'm kind of enamored of it. So let's fire it up.
Tell me, do you see the sun? There's a lemon drop about to fall and it's scaring everyone. Don't come inside, cause Cinderella's can't decide. Try the red spot on the forehead, vintage mind wave suicide. I'm the cosmic trigger, you got to I'm the cosmic trigger. Over your eyes, tell me, can you hear the sun? There's a shadow on the umbra and now it's hunting everyone. Don't say her name, you know that Eris is the one to blame. Search the cosmos for the chaos, primal brainwave, ultra flame. I'm the cosmic trigger, you got to I'm the cosmic trigger. Space. Now there's nowhere left to run. Kundalini's moving to the base, burning like a midnight sun. Don't run away, you can fly your free flag high today. Cinderella seeking vengeance, she'll be back on Saturday. I'm the cosmic trigger, you've got to I'm the cosmic trigger. Cinderella's coming back, and I think she might be gay. Her eyes are black, she's out of whack. She's coming back on Saturday. I'm the cosmic trigger, you've got to I'm the cosmic trigger. I'm the cosmic trigger, just pull. I'm the cosmic trigger.
So that was the Fly Your Freak Flag mix. I don't know if you like that better than the Midnight Sun one. I personally do, but anyhow, it'll be up on Unauthorized in the Boxophonics section and possibly up on Spotify and so forth soon. It's kind of funny watching Once I start playing the music, it's always kind of funny how a few people are like, "Yeah, I'm out of here." you can see the chat numbers just stop growing and maybe drop a little bit. But anyhow, you know what? That's fine. I'm under absolutely no illusions that everybody enjoys that the way that I do. And actually, based on the fact that I'm in the top 1% on that system, very few people enjoy it as much as I do. So that's fine. But anyhow, it's a fun song. It's I wrote it back in 1992 about my it was kind of a combination of being influenced by reading too much Robert Anton Wilson, plus the fact that I had been in Tokyo and dated a couple of Cinderellas. That's correct, plural. When I was in Japan, and so it's Cactus missed it apparently. She says, "Sorry, going back and forth to be." I don't mind. It's fine. Like I said, it's going to be up on UATV. You can download it, fire it around. I heard the Bear is working on a parody about a black astronaut. That may well be. I don't know, but anyhow, it's one of those things where as I've gotten a young Pat Benatar would slam it over the top. I don't know. I mean, I think, to be honest, I think that I like the high pitched, softer aspects of the voice on this one. I think the perfect person to sing it would have been Dale Bosio from Missing Persons. It's kind of funny too if you think about why I like baby metal so much. I think a part of it is because the first two albums I ever bought were AC/DC Back in Black and Missing Persons Spring Session M. Duran Duran Rio was the third. And if you think about it, baby metal is, to a certain extent, the modern equivalent of taking Missing Persons and jamming it together with AC/DC. I mean, it's more metal than rock, but you can kind of see the connection. If you like those things, then you'd probably like this other thing. So anyhow, hopefully we'll have some Vibe Patrol stuff out there relatively soon up on Spotify. There's already some really good Booster Patrol. Some of our best Booster Patrol tracks are up on Spotify already, and we're going to get the rest of them out for the backers relatively soon. We're just getting the rights cleared for some of the covers. You can't just, like, this stuff, because it's mine, we can just do whatever we want, throw it out there anytime. When you're working with covers, you really can't do that. You need to get the rights cleared and that sort of thing. You don't want to step on anybody's toes and get that wrong. So anyhow, that's all cosmic N-word was the joke I was going for. Okay. That was a little too obscure. Not all of us are as intrigued with words you can't say as Big Bear is. So, although I did very much enjoy emailing him what the Google AI system or the Gab AI system or whatever it was had come up with regards to his fursona. So that was really funny. But anyhow, that's all I've really got to discuss. I've been busy today. Some of you probably know why. If you're Castellia library subscribers, you know what I've been busy getting set up and rolling. But we can't talk about that till Monday, so but I will say that things are going extremely well. So thanks to all the subscribers who are are making that happen. I'd probably be remiss if I didn't point out Hypergamouse. We should check on that actually. The Hypergamouse. Do I have that here? Yeah, here we go. Let's check on the Hypergamouse thing, see how that's going. We'll change it to dollars so that it makes sense to everybody. Okay, so yeah, so we just cleared 6 digits, which is great. And appreciate all of the 684 backers. There's only 71 hours to go. So if you're still thinking about possibly picking up a copy of either Sigma Game or Hypergamus, this is the time to do it. So so thanks to everybody there. All right, so that's all I've got on my mind today. I'll go ahead and take I'll take questions for 10 minutes if anybody has some stupid questions, or even intelligent questions would be just fine. I'm waiting for the chat to catch up and let me know if anybody has anything. This is why I would not be a good book talker. Although I do think that, for 15 seconds I could, hold up a book and say, hey, this is this by so-and-so, and it's okay. I'm actually intending to do some book streams here about some of the books that I've been reading. Before the Dawn by Tosan Shimazaki is absolutely excellent. Although it took me to about page 750 to realize, oh, so this is basically a Japanese version of Brideshead Revisited. Cactus Eater Bear, why didn't Russia want Ukraine to join NATO? Because when a country joins NATO, the U.S. puts military bases on it and plants missiles there. And so what that does is that significantly reduces the amount of time that the Russians have to shoot down. Nibmeister, we're not talking about that stuff. I literally just said that. So anyhow, let's see here. It significantly reduces the amount of time that they have to either shoot down a missile or ascertain whether it is nuclear tipped. And so, anyhow, what was I going to say? So that's what they care about. And that's why expanding to Poland, expanding to Finland, expanding to Sweden are such a big problem. If you notice, Turkey joined NATO, and of course Turkey has big U.S. bases and nuclear missiles and all that stuff in there. So what's coming up for Castellia in 2025? First of all, our first priority is getting caught up in production. We're getting both the European and the UK bindery rolling right now as we speak. I mean, literally, we were just working out some of the details with the VAT importing Spanish leathers into the UK. We've been working on that this week. And so there, there's just lots of complications. Is Sweet But Psycho Space Bunny's theme song? No, she's really not psycho at all, and I'm not sure that too many people would call her sweet necessarily. Actually, I do have I should play this. I'll play this before the end. I do have a interesting version of Sweet But Psycho that one of the Booster Patrol guitarists did that you might like to hear. but anyhow, with Castellia, it was coming up in 2025. Number one, we get caught up on library. We keep pace with history. History's in pretty good shape to get done. We might start. Some people are, talking about, wanting to get earlier books and that sort of stuff. What we might do, only for subscribers, would be to start doing very small runs of books that people want to get caught up on. We'll see. We don't have any Dostoevsky planned for the library, but we definitely will be doing some. I'm a bit more of a Tolstoy fan myself. By caught up, how much lead time are we shooting for? That's a good question. Well, in the past, we were always reluctant to even start doing the books until we knew exactly how many books have been sold, because what we didn't want to do is inadvertently sell more books than we made. So that obviously limited our ability. And then remember, because we were working with the bindery in the US that we had no control over at all, that really messed with our lead times. Now that we have the ability to control things a bit better with our partner, the printer, and our own binderies, we have a lot more control over things. And that should allow us to tighten things up a bit. My goal would be to have books coming out within 3 months of their month ending. Now, because doing 6 books a year is so ambitious in this regard, I don't know that we'll ever catch up to the point that, the February is just ended. Let's ship the January, February books. I don't know that we'll ever get to that point, even though we almost got to that point with history twice. But here's the problem, and you can see what the problem is. We came within this close of not having enough Cambridge medieval histories or Napoleonic Wars. So far, the first 4 history books have all been sold out before the next one got announced. Now, the first books that didn't happen with were the Cambridge History of Byzantium, because number one, we took the hit. We lost a number of subscribers after book 4 with the whole processing thing, and we did 50 more books. But even so, I think we're down to 40 left, maybe. And so, it's a balancing act. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to get in the position that Easton Press does, where you blink and suddenly you've got 25,000 books, unsold books sitting around, and then you destroy them because you don't want to risk lowering your price point. So we're trying to be, we've made some mistakes. We should not have done anywhere nearly as many Talib books, non-subscription Talib books as we did. So that was a good lesson to learn. And we still have 500 or 600 of those 2 books. It's ridiculous. And then if you look at, what was the other mistake we made? Oh yeah, when we were growing quickly with library before the shipping issue hit us and knocked off 20% of our subscribers, we had ramped up to doing 800 print runs of 850. That was too aggressive. We shouldn't have done that. I think we've still got 74. Well, we've probably sold them now. Probably got about 70 Throne of Bones volumes 1 and 2 left. If we just done our normal 750, that would have sold out a while ago. So, you just have to be responsible about these things, not be greedy, and keep your promises, and that's what we're working toward. The really good thing, and what I think is really going to explode, is that what's likely to explode next year is the leather comics. I think that's going to be really big, and we just ordered, and this is not private. John talked publicly about it on Archaven Nights already, but we just finished the order for fulfilling all of his regular comics, and we have some very good options for printing the interiors for the leather comics. And what it means is that for people that are content creators who are doing crowdfunds and that sort of stuff, then you're going to be able to get higher quality, bigger comics. You don't have to do the fulfillment for yourself, and it'll cost about 30% less than the usual printing that you can get done. So lower cost, way less work, and the quality's higher. I would think that a lot of, and you have the ability to offer leather comics, which tends to bump up the crowdfund by about 20%. So I'm expecting a lot of the comics creators to get very interested in working with Archaven and Castellia in that way. What if Stacy's mom was Jesse's girl and her number was 8675309? Actually, that's totally possible if you look at the ages. Stacy's mom was about 15 years. Stacy's mom was about 15 to 20 years after Jesse's girl came out. So it's totally possible. There's a conspiracy theory worth investigating. Okay. One of the reasons we try to keep our books, Bilbo says he wasn't able to get a book at one point. It's not that he didn't lose interest, but he switched jobs and got poor. One of the reasons why we keep our books much more affordable than most of our competitors, if you look at the prices of our books, we're offering leather for not much more than Folio Society is selling hardcovers. And the very few amount of leather books they do are literally 7 times more than the price of ours, even though our quality is very, very comparable. Theirs is a little better in some ways, in some circumstances. Ours is better in other. The paper, we know for a fact that the paper that we use is better because we use the same type of paper. We just use a higher grade than they do. Sam confesses that he heard some Led Zeppelin the other day and he liked it. Forgive me, Dark Lord, for I have sinned. I'm going to disagree. I cannot absolve you of that which is not a sin. Led Zeppelin is not bad. I will say that I really find that one song, I don't know if it's called like Black Dog or something, the way that the drums and the guitar get off the beat, the timing is off, it's bothered me since I first heard it in high school. Like, I cannot listen to that song. And I get the whole concept of how music has been dumbed down and made less orally interesting and pleasant because everything is so normalized and to the click track. But it's just they're still a good band. I mean, they had an interesting sound. Great drums, good guitar. Robert Plant's voice obviously is really good. I get why they were a big deal at the time. I will say that I would be perfectly fine to never ever hear them again, just because I got subjected to listening to so much of it in high school. KQ 92, double shot 90 Tuesdays, you know, all that sort of thing. So, so anyhow, it's you know, I'm. It's easier for me to respect bands that I don't like particularly, but you know, there's plenty of bands that I the stuff that I really tend to dislike tends to be more pop, or else just stuff that's you know, over the top metal. I don't like stuff that doesn't have any melody to it. Black Dog has some occult meaning to its drum guitar rhythms. That could be. All I know is that I don't like it. It always it. I picked it up the first time I heard it, and I was just like, okay, that sounds like a mistake. Why wouldn't they fix that? You know, and so, you know, maybe it does have some darker meaning. Certainly, we know that Led Zeppelin had some very unpleasant, you know, elements to it. Bilbo definitely hopes to have Lovecraft's The Street bound in leather. Well, that would be a very short book. I think it's what, 4 pages? Of all the animals, would spiders make the best thrash metal drummers? I would have assumed octopus myself. You know, I would think octopus. But anyhow, let me see if I can find that. I'm gonna find that tune here just for kicks, because I did enjoy it. This is not a proper cover, just to so you know. This is what they call a guitar cover, where they, or sometimes guitar and drum, or a guitar and drum and bass cover, where they play over the existing track. E-Rock does a lot of this. This is not E-Rock, however. Let me see. I don't even know where I put it. Oh, there we go. Okay, this may or may not work. I may have to, some of these MP3s for some reason don't like to work, but we'll give it a try, see if it actually plays or not. I should probably turn the volume on though, shouldn't I? I wasn't playing the music here, so